Let's talk about Keir Starmer and his abortive war on democracy. 30 local authorities were due to have their elections cancelled or postponed. He's now made a U-turn on that, so those elections will take place. Had these elections not gone ahead, then more than 4 million people would have been denied a vote in the local elections. He essentially only cancelled it because Reform UK mounted a legal challenge, and the government lawyers said, you're going to lose it in the High Court, so you better change course. Joe, what do you think this tells us about Starmer and his attitude to democracy? You know, the way that they could so casually think that elections don't really matter, that they're, you know, perhaps too expensive or inconvenient to hold.
No, well, I think that is it, isn't it? I mean, I think democracy is just a big inconvenience to Starmer. To have to consider the views of the electorate just gets in the way of him being able to put into whatever policy it is that seems to be flavour of the month for him that particular day. I think what's shocking is shocking that these elections were cancelled in the first place, as you pointed out, some for the second year in a row. And then it was only U-turned when a very serious threat that it would be overturned in court. So he didn't want that to happen. And so basically rode back on the decision before it became legally unviable for him to carry on with it. But there was no attempt to apologise or to acknowledge the kind of threat to democracy that had been there. It was almost as if, well, we had this bureaucratic problem and now we've got this legal issue, and democracy just doesn't feature anywhere in the discussion of that. But I think it's just symptomatic. I think the piece that you wrote on Spike this week, Fraser, puts it really nicely, just symptomatic of Starmer's whole attitude towards democracy. Everywhere you look, from free speech to, I mean, the other big scandal that's been in the news this week is about the think tank Labour Together having carried out this investigation into a Sunday Times journalist who were doing the job as investigative journalists, doing exactly what they should be doing, and looking into donations that had gone to fund this Labour Party think tank, a think tank which has been very influential in getting Starmer elected and in filling many of the cabinet posts. And yet again, that's this attempt to just there's no, it's as if these journalists are just an inconvenience, just a nuisance, need to shut up. Nobody is quite going to apologise for what went on here. Nobody seems to think it's much of a big deal. It's like any attempt at accountability, whether that's to the press or to the electorate, it's just a major inconvenience, and we should all just get in our boxes and shut up.
And of course, the other factor is that Labour is doing very, very badly in the polls, was guaranteed to lose a lot of these elections. Polling suggests at least half of the seats in May will be lost. What have you made of that? I mean, it seems as if he's running scared from the voters, of course, but also running scared from Reform UK in particular.
No, definitely, and it's very convenient, obviously. Because that's the other thing about Keir Starmer, is that on the one hand, a lot of the very authoritarian things he's done seem to spring from a certain sort of technocratic mindset, which is that you can junk very hard-won liberties and rights in pursuit of just sheer efficiency, even if that efficiency never materialises. So you get rid of jury trials because it would speed up, allegedly, bringing down the case backlog in the courts, or you can suspend local elections because they're going through this reorganisation. It's going to be too expensive, it's going to be too complicated, they won't sit for the full term, therefore just get rid of it, people won't care. You can bring in digital ID, as he was trying to do, because it will help us smash the gangs for some unclear reason, even though this is not a papers please society and people want to quite a visceral level react against these kinds of things. But also in many of those cases, and particularly this one, it's just very convenient, isn't it? They knew they were in for a drubbing. They knew that politically they are losing support in several different directions. I mean, it seems like Reform are going to be the primary beneficiaries of these elections actually going ahead in these 30 localities. But, they're losing a bit more of their vote than that to the Green Party. They're also still losing votes to the Lib Dems. It looks like they've lost half of their kind of vote share, hence being primed to lose half of their seats in a lot of these places, according to the mega polls that have been done in this area. So it's always funny. You can understand where they come to these perspectives because there isn't really a lot of principle and fealty to airy notions, as they might see it, of democracy or rights. But also it's always just very convenient for them to go down this route because it's particularly for a government that is just flailing all over the place. dodging another opportunity for accountability is obviously going to appeal to them.
I think what's worth noting is what an easy ride the Labour Party get in the press over all of these things.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if it had been the Conservative government that had cancelled elections, tried to overturn jury trials, gone after journalists just for doing their job. I mean, there would have been uproar again. There would have been uproar about it. It would have been something that we'd been hearing about for weeks. Instead, we had weeks of, did Boris Johnson eat a slice of birthday cake or not? That was news for weeks. And instead, we've got all of these major things happening, which really should shock us. Cancelling elections is not something to be done lightly. And this is a real infringement upon our rights in this country, our democratic processes. And again, it's just another one of those things that barely warrants a headline.
And the scary thing is, I suppose it should shock us, but it shouldn't surprise us given Keir Starmer's past. I mean, this is the man who led the campaign to overturn the Brexit referendum, to cancel the democratic aspirations of 17.4 million people. And, if you go back further to his time as Director of Public Prosecutions, he was absolutely at the forefront of the kind of what we're now, I'm afraid, all too used to, of people being arrested and prosecuted for social media posts. He was absolutely insistent, actually against the advice of a lot of other lawyers within the Crown Prosecution Service, that Paul Chambers should be prosecuted for telling a joke on Twitter. He made this joke about wanting to blow up his local airport and became, a huge Twitter joke trial. Starmer was really, really adamant that this man must be punished. You look at him going after journalists as Director of Public Prosecutions. A lot of people have forgotten that in the wake of the phone hacking scandal, there were lots of other investigations into various alleged crimes that actually came to nothing. Starmer tried to prosecute 30 journalists, most of them from The Sun, and all of them have now since been cleared. So to me, that sounds like there is and always has been an authoritarian bent in Starmer. Luckily for us, he is kind of a useless prime minister, and so some of his worst plans, like digital ID, has thankfully been watered down. He's not got away with cancelling the elections.
The ineptitude is the only thing that saves you from the authoritarianism.
Exactly.
I think they reckon this is his 14th U-turn, and he made it having said that there were going to be no more U-turns about 3 hours previously on the radio. So that's our prime minister.
More U-turns, please, Keir.
Exactly. It's the best bit.